Right.
Those wounds actually healed within 30 hours to nothing but barely visible scars. The fluorescing lasted for, a good 90 days. But in order to help me, MUFON suggested, why don't you go get hypnotic regression? Because sometimes that, that'll answer some questions. If it's a dream, if it's not a dream, it'll answer some questions. So I was talked into doing that, and I actually ended up with a person named Deborah Lindemann, who was a local hypnotherapist that worked with MUFON. And I remembered, I recounted everything that happened, and I remembered all these symbols stuck in my head. And now you have to understand, I'm a best-selling author, but I can't spell or punctuate worth a darn.
That's what spell check is for.
Exactly. I'm extremely dyslexic to the point where I have maybe a 4th or 5th grade math level if I'm lucky. I can't even do long division without getting confused. I have to get my stepkids to help. It's actually quite embarrassing, but I remember, she asked me to write these symbols on a piece of paper. So she gave me this big, huge tablet of paper and a marker. And within maybe 15, 20 seconds, I wrote out this huge, long, paragraph of these very complex equations. One of which was an element, an electron structure for an element that didn't even exist at the time. What's interesting is I got a newspaper article that somebody sent me 2 years later that scientists finally invented the element 2 years after I had the electron structure for it.
Wow.
We didn't even have the equation for it at the time. I was the first one to have it, and I just wrote down what was in my head.
Huh. That's incredible.
Did you get any credit for that since you had the equation? I mean, did they give you anything? 2 years later.
Yeah,
No.
no.
Nah.
No.
But it's documented. I mean, it was so many, I had some of the top scientists. I had, Dr. Jack Kasher, University of Nebraska, was the one to figure out that it was an actual elemental structure. And so it's documented. It's very well documented that I was the first to have it.
Wow. Now, how long after your first experience, or how long into your experiences before you started, for lack of a better term, being harassed by whoever these people were, whether they're a government agency, independent group, or what, but they were all over you on white on rice there for a while.
And they still are. I mean, I've been shot at. I gotta get my windshield fixed. I still have a bullet hole in my windshield.
Somebody shot at you?
Thank goodness.
I've been shot at twice now.
Oh my God! When did that happen?
About 2 years ago, and then about a year ago. Right out in front of my house was the first time, and it barely missed my head. If it wasn't for a fist-sized ball of light floating around over the top of my house, I jerked my head to look at this fist-sized ball of light, and then all of a sudden I felt a pink, and I saw a spark. Then I heard the gunshot.
Wow. Sounds like that ball of light kind of helped you there.
It did. It saved my life. Absolutely saved my life. And then we were driving to a talk, and I was shot at in Denver.
Oh, my.
Did you ever contact any... sorry, Stan. Did you ever contact any local authorities when you were shot at?
I've got... Yeah, I was just going to say the police actually took a piece of a 9mm bullet out of my windshield.
9mm. Wow. That's usually... And Mike, maybe you would know this. Mike is involved in law enforcement. That's a pistol gun caliber, right?
Oh, yeah. Usually it's a pistol round, yeah.
But is there? Do you happen to know of any rifles that shoot a 9mm?
Oh yeah, sure. There are, but they wouldn't be used for a sniper rifle or anything. They'd be pretty ineffective at any kind of range.
And see, that's what I thought. Yeah. That's strange, Stan.
But it's a 9mm nonetheless, and somebody did shoot at me. The first one had to have been a rifle because it whizzed by my head and just barely nicked the hair on my ear. Before it sparked off the road, 5 houses down. And then all of a sudden I heard the bang. and it was so loud that the neighbors came out. And see, I've been beaten up. I moved to Colorado Springs and got beaten up there and told to shut up. And we found wiretaps, and we put surveillance around our house, and I've got videotapes, and I've got everything is documented. Everything, every incident, everything, every time I've been harassed or threatened, all the break-ins we've had, all the in fact, just recently, the phone company found a wiretap on our phone.
Just recently?
So,
really?
Yeah.
We had a friend of ours, a friend of the program, who came on one of our first interviews. Bruce Pearson. He was a broadcast journalist who, back in the 70s, had a UFO experience near an Air Force base. And he actually talked about it on a couple of radio programs, including Coast to Coast. And he got a phone call one night right after a show, and the same thing. Somebody got on the phone and told him he better shut up. And being Bruce, he pretty much told the guy to go stuff himself, until the guy started telling him what his daughter was doing that day at school and started giving all this information to intimidate him. And Bruce's whole reaction to it was, well, screw it. I'm going to scream from the rooftops then. You're not going to shut me up. That's going to be the way to fight him. So, I've read, of course, in your books, you've recounted the many different times that people have contacted you, broke into your home, and now we're hearing all this new harassment. It seems like if they really wanted to shut you up, it could have. There could be easier ways to do it, but yet I don't know. In my opinion, it almost sounds like they're inept because they've had 10 years to do something.
Well, see, here's the thing, and yes, they could have, but what your friend did is probably the smartest thing he could have done, because the thing they don't want, the thing they want the least, is a martyr. And so if you start talking about, I honestly think that's what saved my life, because first of all, I literally grew up in the hood. I grew up with the Bloods on one side and the Crips on the other, and in Southwest Denver, and I've got stab wounds from growing up, in this neighborhood. So, I had to learn to defend myself. So, stuff like this wasn't, although it's scary, it's frightening, I'm pretty stubborn. And so when this started happening, it's like, honestly, if a Men in Black came to my door, I'd probably try to knock him over the head and tie him up and hide him somewhere. Because
storm in a basement and do some waterboarding and getting some information out of them.
See, that's how I am, because there's some theories that some of these Men in Black, and I've not really experienced the Men in Black more than I've experienced the military types. The guys that are clean cut with perfectly pressed pants. That there are like 5 of them come out and jump me and try to beat the crap out of me and tell me to shut up.
What now? I got the impression, from your accounts, that you might even actually have been dealing with more than one group. There almost seemed to be a group that they acted like they were trying to help you, but they always were. The way they were acting was like the bad guys, but it definitely seemed like more than one group was involved.
Absolutely. What I've learned, and it's going to be in my next book, is there is a war going on, literally, within our own government. There are some bad guys out there, as well as there's good and bad out there, just like there's good and bad here. There's some bad guys that are trying to take over and trying to manipulate even the government. And there's some good guys out there that are saying, no, this isn't going to happen. And the same within the government. We were talking about how inept this seems to be. But honestly, there, and we've run into this a lot, that I call them white lighters. There are good guys in the government that are supporting what I'm doing, and they're going out of their way to make sure that, that I'm safe and somewhat taken care of, because they know how important the message is. Because the message that I have, honestly, is for everybody, even for the guys that shoot at me and beat me up. They're the ones I want to try to reach the most. Because I now know what's going on and what's going to happen and where we are as a race. And it's very important. We're at a very pivotal time in our evolution. We're at a crossroads right now. And we can either be taken over by this justice, evil, whatever you want to call them, or we can learn from our experiences and become enlightened and move on. And so that's what this is about.
You know, and that's something I've been hearing a lot in a lot of different circles, not even just from, you know, people like yourself who have dealt with the abduction phenomenon or dealing with these beings. I've talked with psychics and other people who feel like we're on the cusp of this major change. Myself, it scares the hell out of me because I don't really have a lot of faith in humanity at the moment, because it seems that, you know, greed rules the day and people rule by fear. And let's face it, nobody wants to change. They want things to stay status quo. Pump the oil, get people to buy and consume, and stay in your little lives.
That's because they're lazy. Unfortunately, things are going to have to... The system's broken, and the inmates are running the sanitarium, literally. And so you can't fix it, you have to replace it. And it looks like there's something that's been here manipulating the human race for quite a while, trying to gain control. And, you know, let's face it, the government made some mistakes and made some treaties with the bad guys. And there are two sects that I understand that are trying to control and maybe wanting to take over the human race. But we've got some help. And we can... The human race really doesn't understand who they are, and this is what I'm learning. And what I'm learning is so beyond what I could have ever imagined ever, you know, before I had my experiences. And what makes us different is the fact that we can...
Hold on a second, Stan.
...reality naturally.
Stan, hold on a second. Are you hearing that music? Hello?
I am. What is that?
Was it Mike?
Mike, was that on your end? There's
Hello,
some...
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now. What was that?
Oh, okay. I was having a little problem on this end.
Was that music playing you?
No music.
What? That wasn't yours? Really?
No, this is getting...
My mic was muted.
Wow, Stan, this is
Stan,
very
You
interesting.
guys were going into some... I was trying to hurry up because I thought you guys were going to a commercial.
No, we don't do that. I mean, I thought you had a cell phone or another phone ringing, and okay, they're messing with us tonight.
Yeah, something very well. It adds to the show.
You know, and I'm a Firefly fan of the Serenity. It's like you can't stop the signal, folks. We're still pushing forward
still
here. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a powerful message for humanity, and people. I hope we can wake up. I hope we can bring in this positive change. I personally...
Well, we can. And, you know, we are an amazing species. You know, we're a conglomeration of a bunch of different things. And, you know, there's some bad guys out there that don't want us out there because they're afraid that we're, you know, once we come to terms with who we are and once we own up to who we are, you know, we'll be pretty powerful. But here's the kicker. We have to do it ourselves. We can't get help from other things. Unless something out there interferes, then they'll help us. But as far as lifting ourselves up, we have to do that ourselves. You know, that's just part of the test. Part of the test.
It seems to all come back to free will. And that's something exactly. I've been learning a lot in all the reading that I've done. Because I always tell people, I've never had a UFO, never seen a UFO, never had an experience like that. But in the reading that I've done, that's what it seems that these beings are doing. Even though sometimes they seem to be abducting people against their will, there's still a lot of free will involved. And they'll only get involved with and do certain things for the human race.
But here's the kicker. You know, it was hard enough for me to believe in UFOs, and I had to believe that there were things flying the UFOs. Now I know there are multiple things out there with multiple agendas, some of them good, some of them bad. So, you know, we just have to learn to be able to decipher the good from the bad, and that's going to be the tough part because these things are a lot more advanced than we are.
Well, how many different... You know, I guess I use the word races. How many different of these
species, maybe
races or species, have you had contact with?
So far, there have been 3 different things that I remember seeing. The possum people, which I believe are... I don't really want to ruin the book for you. I mean, honestly, the book explains it, and it's going to blow everybody away. The possum people, the grays, and something that looks like a giant grasshopper.
Okay. That was something on Skype, so we're good. Speaking of the grays, during your experiences, you were able to capture